obviously Trump's going ahead with mass deportations, and although it's in its sort of infancy at the minute, I think we would all like to see it ramp up significantly because the scale of the problem is much larger than the government has capacity for at the minute, it seems. And I wanted to talk about some of the reactions to the little deportations that have happened so far. And spoiler alert, they're doing the worst possible thing they could be doing. And it's hilarious, and I want to point it out, say where they're going wrong, and how actually they're strengthening the case for mass deportations, not weakening it, in quite a significant way. And it's going to be a bit of fun, but also there's a lot of political significance here, because of course lots of other countries are looking at mass deportations as well, and if we see the reaction to them, and if the reaction reinforces the incentive to do the deportations, well, that makes it all the more appealing, doesn't it? So I have a little video to play, if you can get that up, Samson, and I'm sure lots of people have already seen this one. This is, of course, the border czar, speaking of that Haitian man.
Is the video here?
I put the video in the media folder, Samson. If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. But basically, what I wanted to show was his zeal in sending people back, because there's this guy.
Here we go.
Here we go. Right, take it away, Samson. I won't describe it anymore.
I'm not going back to Haiti. Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
You see that video, I'm curious, what do you think?
Well, he's wrong. He's going back to Haiti. I tell him that.
Simple as.
I like that attitude. It's just like, yep, he's going back to Haiti. It doesn't matter.
He just looks so North FC to me.
And this sort of attitude has made people feel like they've got their backs up against a wall, which is great because that's where you need them. And the response was this. So there was a day without immigrants. There were protests against Trump's mass deportations, and basically cities across the United States on Monday, and businesses closed their doors for a day without immigrants to protest the mass deportations. And now, just to check up on the United States.
Sorry, I love this. These protests with all of their Mexican flags. We're so proud of Mexico. We love Mexico so much. Why aren't you there?
So I was thinking, let's check up on the US, because of course, a day without immigrants, you know, something
like
terrible is going to have to have happened. So if I scroll over on Google Earth using this very infallible method to check on the United States being okay, it's still there. It's still here.
You're saying the sun did come up?
It did. If you're an American watching this, I imagine you're probably not a ghost and you're not all dead. That's great news. And yeah, obviously nothing bad happened. And in fact, the fact that nothing notable happened on Monday is pretty significant. If America is still standing, America's still stable, it means actually your day without immigration did nothing and that it doesn't matter.
They're talking about immigrant labour, is that what they're talking about? It's essentially like a one-day immigration labour strike.
Yes.
That's what they're talking about.
Sort of that. Although I imagine there were lefty businesses that shut down anyway, that didn't have illegals.
Many toilets went uncleaned that day.
Lawns went unmowed.
So let's take a look at what I'm going to label some of the dumbest people on earth, because the efforts to prevent themselves getting deported are doing the complete opposite of what they want them to. And here's a business here. This video is of a Pennsylvania business, and he's speaking in Spanish, and he says, "We have no choice but to close this place because all the people who worked here, some are scared. There's no one to come to work. Others have already been taken by immigration." And what you did was you filmed a video where you can clearly see outside where you are, what business you're working for, and what you've done there effectively is dox yourself as a place that has illegal migration. It's not a sob story.
The entire staff, by the sounds of it, as well.
So what they've done is they've shared a video, basically, of here's where I work, come get us. In a means of trying to say, look at how terrible it is. We can't run this horrible, slop food production shop. I don't know.
Well, it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off.
I know.
So, like, ICE can just see that video.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Homan himself is coordinating it right now, triangulating exactly where this place is. Again, why should we care? You you relied entirely on illegal immigration to staff your business. That's a stupid way to run a business.
I think also the fact he's saying it in Spanish as well is funny, because you're not exactly showing that you've integrated into the United States if you're recording your video.
And this is Pennsylvania as well. It's not even a southern state.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say. We're talking about Southern California. No, it's Pennsylvania, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, say you were to try and ingratiate yourself with the American people, and you want to prove that you're just as American as they are. What would the first thing be that you would do? Probably not this, which is burning a US flag, shouting "Viva Mexico" in protest of being deported. To my mind, this just makes normal people want to deport you. You know, even if they didn't vote Trump, I think that maybe burning the US flag and directly saying that you hate the country that they live in would be a bit of an alarm bell to most people.
They can just move back. They don't even have to be deported. If you hate America that much and love Mexico that much, you can just move back home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where most of your money will be going as well, isn't it?
Protests also went out on the streets, and as you can see, there is an American flag on the ground and lots of Mexican flags here. This isn't going to help you ingratiate yourself with the American people if you burn their flag and then wave your own flag. It makes you look like invaders, which you are.
Fifth columnists.
Exactly. Well, of course they are, yeah. I mean, if you're doing this sort of thing, obviously there are some people that look pretty white as well, so white leftists. There you go. They're spraying what looks like gasoline on the flag. You're not winning any sympathy here. All this is also going to set fire to his flag doing that. You're not going to win any sympathy. It's just going to get you deported. Also, you can see all of their faces. You can see the people doing this. And what they have done is they have publicly showed that they are against the United States, waving Mexico flags. And what can be done is that you can ID those people from this video, and you can deport them if there is the political will to do it, and the ability and the manpower. And obviously it's early days, but a lot of this stuff is getting a lot of attention, and so it's all out there. And there's also this. They're just going up to, I think this is a car park or a parking lot, as you might call it. And there's a person just sat in a car, and they're going up to their car and just taunting them and getting on their nerves. It's not going to win any sympathy, is it?
Is there any backstory to that? Why? Just an entirely random person?
I think they might have a MAGA hat on.
Right.
I saw them with a red cap on, and then they took it off. And yeah. It's not gonna win anyone over, is it? Surrounding their car, waving
I'm sure that woman's really regretting her voting choices now.
Yeah, it's not gonna help. And there were organised protests as well. Look at that creature. Before I've actually started the video.
Which one?
The one with a weird face makeup. This is not a good look. You know, these are supposedly normal people. You've got what looks like a weird goth clown centerpiece to your protest. Also, I'd like to point out that skateboarder's holding his skateboard wrong because the grip tape's going to rub into his clothes, which is, you know, a basic Grom move, which no one's going to get except skateboarders.
We've got some skater elitism right now.
I spent a lot of my teenage years skateboarding, all right?
What a surprise.
No one would actually be able to guess, to be honest. But yeah, this sort of thing, right? No one is going to be convinced by this. A bunch of Mexican people with Mexican flags and weirdos coming out to defend them. And there were lots of other protests as well. This was, I think it was either a highway or a main road, or I don't know how they're classified in the US. But just people driving by, they're harassing the cars, and they're trying to block the roads, and they're throwing stuff at them. And you can see what they've basically got here is a weird Mexican, I want to say standoff, but it's more of an ambush, really. And all it is a sort of gauntlet for, are you willing to drive through and have Mexicans throw stuff at your car?
And if they're throwing stuff at your car, is that assault at that point?
I think it's certainly damage to property. It's a crime.
Yeah.
But what the driver should have done is just waited 5 or 10 minutes, and then they'd all go for their afternoon nap, and then you'd be able to drive through perfectly fine.
Oh, I want to protest, but I'm so sleepy. Siesta. Ooh.
I'm so tired. Yeah, there's someone had a Cybertruck there. We know that that's impervious, isn't it? Have you seen people shooting it with like a 9mm or something, and it just doesn't bounces off almost?
So I don't know why they were loitering around. They should have gone straight through.
Yeah.
Not that the protest is just the road, by the way. Just to be clear, don't arrest me. They also are asking for death because what they were doing was walking out into moving incoming traffic.
Smooth moves.
These
Clever.
Doctors and engineers. Right, let's have a look, shall we? Hit it again for your sanity's sake. Here they are just walking out into the road and waving them down like a crazy person.
That old taunt, oh, why don't you go play with traffic? And they're like, good idea. Yeah, I'm going to then.
They've stopped one person.
Very, very lucky that these people stopped in time.
It looked like the grounds for a carjacking for a sec. They put stuff over their faces and got in the road, but there we go. Imagine actually stopping for them, and now you've got to wait for all of this.
That was the thing. If that ever happens to you, you just inch forward, and people, they will get out of the way. People won't let themselves be run over.
Ever so slowly.
Nearly always. So you just inch forward until you get through them and drive away.
So this is obviously California. I don't know
why is that man on stilts.
Why not?
I mean, I suppose Mexicans aren't very tall.
The Mexican circus has arrived,
Mostly.
and that's really going to win people over. That Mexican car just in the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
He's got a Sonic backpack on as well.
I don't know who this is convincing, because this is the opposite of what they should be doing. They're parading around like a victorious army.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make people sympathetic to you. And what happened was...
Also, if you're doing this kind of behaviour, it's kind of a signal to the people who are deporting you that...
It's necessary.
Well, it's necessary, and also that if you want to get these people out of the country, well, you're winning. If they're doing this kind of thing, right?
Well, it's being disrespectful, isn't it? It's just proving that you've got a just cause here. And the riot police did turn up, and they blocked the road, which, credit to them, I suppose. And there was quite a significant police response to it, and I think they shut it down eventually.
That's cool. They did come out in force then. So it's like San Bernardino and Pasadena. So this is Southern California.
Yes.
Exactly where you'd expect this sort of thing to happen.
Right.
But yes, hopefully Tom Holland has been watching these videos and is just going, you're going home, you're going home, you're going home. And
Scanning through, making notes on faces with Terminator vision.
Yeah, and there were lots of protests elsewhere as well. Here is Atlanta, Georgia. Some more Mexicans apparently didn't get the memo that maybe waving a US flag, if you're going to do sort of political rhetorical tricks, might be a good idea. Just like, no, they're deporting them. They're American. They're waving American flags. They didn't even bother to do that sleight of hand. They're just openly nationalistic for Mexico, which is great because they'll be going back there soon. And
I love that you can see a lot of these flags with all of the folds still in them. So they're brand new. They've just gone out to buy them. Especially for the fact that I see lots of actual handwritten signs as well in this, and not, the stock. Obviously, they don't have Stand Up to Racism in the US, but those kinds of NGO banners as well. This probably is somewhat organic, which again shows that the US government is actually touching a nerve here.
Yeah, also, I think that from the perspective of an illegal immigrant or a Mexican, you might think, okay, well, I like making more money than in Mexico, and therefore it's enough of a reason for them to go out on the streets. And so it's a believable protest, isn't it? It's not like some of the more astroturfed ones we get in the UK, where everyone has the same sign.
One for USAID on Monday.
That's true, yeah.
Just thousands have come out for this one specific government department.
No, not my favourite government department. If you have a favourite government department, other than maybe the Department of Defence, which, I can kind of respect.
Georgia is interesting, though, because it shows how much I know, I suppose, but I wouldn't have thought, if you'd asked me a minute ago, that there would be a massive, particularly large Mexican community in Georgia. I would have thought California, all the obvious places along the border, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, or whatever.
They need their burritos
Georgia,
and toilets cleaned.
Pennsylvania. I wonder if Wyoming's got much of a Mexican community. Right, Montana surely can't have.
Well, everywhere needs
Idaho,
cleaners,
maybe.
right?
Sorry?
Everywhere needs cleaners, right?
Sure.
And another one is Glendale in Arizona. Here we go. Got some fireworks and more Mexican flags. Yeah, you're sure showing those Trump supporters by dancing around.
What
with
a
your flag.
cultural contribution they're making, right?
I know, they're really making you sympathetic. You know, in the middle of an intersection with fireworks, waving their flags around like lunatics.
To be fair, acting like a dickhead and setting off fireworks is kind of like an American thing, isn't it?
I'd give them a bit more credit than that. It's more of like a...
Well, they wave
European New
American
Year.
flags while
Okay.
they're doing it, yeah.
Well, that's fine. It's
No,
America.
no,
They're
I'm
allowed
not,
to.
I'm not saying it's not fine. Just saying they're so close to integration.
I see what you're saying. So, Houston, Texas here, they at least had the decency to go on a bridge rather than block the road. I wouldn't necessarily want to be one of the cars driving underneath. Who knows what's going to happen. Can't see what that flag is trailing on the back of the truck, but if it's a Trump flag, I respect that. I'd like to think it was. But funny how Texas, they all step out of the road. And interesting, what about Texas? Might make it so that they're not actually interfering directly in people's lives.
Southern hospitality.
It must be.
Is it just that what do you mean? Like the Texas authorities
got guns.
don't mess about?
Well,
Is that what you mean?
I think if they get in the way, they might get shot.
Right, okay.
Is all I was thinking, really. There's nothing much to it. And yes, there are also these businesses closing, and here's Al Jazeera talking about it, which I thought was funny. They're closing in protest against Trump's immigration policies, as Al Jazeera puts it, which isn't really true. It's protesting against, I'm illegal, I want to make money off the backs of the American people. And so we're closing businesses. And there's a very sad-looking Hispanic lady there putting a sign out saying, we're closing on Monday, Feb 3, in solidarity with our immigrant community.
Well, seeing as we know the kind of trends that happen within immigrant communities and immigrant businesses, I would assume a lot of the only people who would be going to these immigrant businesses are other immigrants anyway.
Probably, yes.
So, I mean, it's not really affecting anybody who didn't already vote for this.
Also, it's not like there are lots of alternatives open for that one day. It's not going to do anything. It was just silly, and all it did was make them look bad. But here's a little thing of a coffee shop closing.
Where am I going to get coffee?
We're closed to unite in support of immigrants, just generally. Notice how they don't mention illegal immigrants
Right, I was just going to say
or
that,
undocumented peoples or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Invaders is another word, I suppose. They're not going to say that, of course.
Marauders.
Yes.
Raiders.
Parasites?
You're deliberately making no distinction between sort of violent, re-offending illegal immigrants and just immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
As if there's no...
Yeah, you know, those Scandinavians in North America, they're a plague there, aren't they? And yes, here's another one. A Houston restaurant closed for a day without immigrants, but it had no tangible effect. I didn't see, any media outlet try and say, it's had a devastating impact closing without immigrants. They've not even tried to sell that because it didn't do anything. And in fact, I think some people might well be aware that their demonstration has just gone to show that America can exist without them. It carried on. It's
The
still
economy
there.
didn't collapse.
It didn't. That's strange, isn't it?
I thought loads of economists have been telling me that it would collapse.
It's funny that, isn't it? It's almost like those economists are wrong. And a bit of foreshadowing for your segment, Harry. It could be that those economists are paid off by the US government. Yeah. And I found this cartoon quite funny. So someone's posting on social media, join us to protest Trump's deportation. And there they are at the protest. And they're suggesting that maybe Tom Homan himself is organising them just to make his job easier, because then he can see all of the people that are actually turning up, which, they're not the smartest people. They've just made themselves visible. And this was hilarious. This is exactly what I would do were I in America right now. I'm just going to play it. I'm not going to give you an explanation.
I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ performs it.
Ice, ice, baby! Ice, ice, baby!
That's got to become like the anthem, isn't it?
Yep.
Vanilla Ice, love it. The thing about strikes is, I think a lot of people, particularly maybe younger people who aren't that familiar with history, don't seem to understand, is that if it's genuinely a standoff, a battle of wills between your employer or the state, then you strike until you get what you want. If you look at, for example, the coal miners in the 80s in Britain, or you look at the Great Strike in the 20s in Britain, no, you strike for weeks and weeks and months.
Well, the coal miners held the country to ransom. They're basically like, you won't have any power unless you give us what you want. What we want, sorry.
The whole concept of striking for one day is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Or if you say ahead of time, we're going to strike, like our rail unions often do here. We go like 2 months from now, we're going to strike on this day, or the teachers' union. We're going to strike for 1 or 2 days, and we're going to let you know when it is. That's nonsense. That's not real. That is just pure performative, childish nothing. But I don't know.
That's what this is.
It is just performative, isn't it?
So one thing I can suggest to people that might be upset about immigration is, if you've got family in the US, this is what we always hear is, but you can't take people away from their families. Well, this is Canada. This is a lady who's, chained herself to a Pakistani man, and they're moving back to Pakistan. Good luck to the lady.
She's
being able to survive.
They're both climate activists.
Oh yeah, I'm not sorry about it.
No.
Why hasn't she got her head covered?
I know, yes.
It's very immodest.
I know.
How dare
She's
she?
going to have a bit of a culture shock, isn't she? All of that diversity, she's going to be so enriched.
I hope she likes the climate in Pakistan.
Yeah. And the people. Very accommodating, yeah. Yes, these people I think are to do with Extinction Rebellion or something or other, so good that they're leaving, basically. What you're doing is you're deporting a foreigner and you're also getting a leftist thrown in for free, which sounds great.
It's a great package deal, yeah.
Yeah, they made a fuss about this, but this is like free advertising. In Britain, if I got to deport illegal immigrants and, legal dependents, and then also I get the leftists gone as well, it's like you get something for free, isn't it? It's great. And yes, they are going ahead and getting deported as well. And they're both going together. Oh, how romantic.
It looks like the realisation of what's happening is kicking in on her face. It's like, wait, really?
They're going back to Pakistan.
No, the look on her face.
That's what I mean, yeah. It's like, I've actually got to do this now?
So one thing that I've made light of a lot of it. One thing I do want to draw attention to is, particularly on social media, loads of leftists have been talking about getting winter boots, which is basically a code to organise and potentially arm themselves against ICE. So there are weirdos like this, obviously. You can tell by the fact her face is a pincushion that she's a leftist, and she's talking about where you can find winter boots and where to meet, and also, there's another person here, interesting beard, talking about this, and I'm not going to play it because it's 5 minutes long, but you get the gist that they're basically using coded language to suggest that they're going to do something violent, which I hope the American state has note of, because it is significant and these people are unhinged, and it's just a sort of note of safety at the end, I suppose, that do be careful if you are a legitimate American citizen, because I imagine that although it's been mostly peaceful in the actual sense, and a bit silly and self-destructive on the part of many of the illegals and the Mexicans, there are going to be people that are going to react in a very unhinged and violent way. And so I suppose pay attention to this and what people are saying in your local area while this is going on, because people are sort of telegraphing what they're doing, and hopefully the authorities pick up on this stuff and people are aware that they're using codes to basically suggest being violent towards people.
So that's their dog whistle. I hadn't heard of that until just now. Winter boots. That's their thing.
I don't know how far that took off, or whether there are other ones, as I didn't have the time to,
I know
dig
that
around on
Reddit
TikTok.
is full of people saying that we need to go and commit violence in response to all of this. But most of Reddit probably doesn't have the grip strength to keep hold of a gun after the initial shot. So
that's true.
I don't think they pose much of a threat, but you are right that there will be some who will be planning violence in response to this.
And so my sort of parting message is, illegal migration protesters. Carry on doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job making mass deportations look good. And if you're an American citizen, just stay safe, and all the best from the other side of the Atlantic. If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.